Okay, so now I have my tractor. Now what? Well, the first thing I want to do is get very familiar with it, learn all about the maintenance schedules, just make sure I'm taking care of it right. But I'm also going to assume that the last service wasn't done at 3,000 hours. It's at a little more than 3,400 hours. So I'm going to go through this just really with a fine-tooth comb, look at hoses, look at seals, see if anything's leaking, see things that need to be replaced, a lot of preventative stuff. And there's probably some oil and other things that I'll point out here in a few minutes that may not need to be done, but I'm going to do it just in case because I don't know when it was last done. That's one thing about buying something used, and when somebody doesn't keep, very detailed service logs, then you have an issue. You don't know what was done last. So I'm just going to assume that nothing was done, and it can't hurt to just do these over again, and then I know where my clock starts at 0. So the first thing I did is I gave it a little bath yesterday. I put some engine degreaser on the engine, kind of cleaned it up so I could see it a little better and not be covered with grease every time I touch it. Went through, kind of blew out a lot of the rocks, and just really starting to get it cleaned up and ready for a good inspection. So one thing I'll point out is when I'm looking at this belt, I notice it's a little frayed. It's got a little wear. When I look in this wheel here, this pulley wheel, I notice that it's not smooth. So what I'll probably do is I'll remove this and put it in a lathe and maybe emery cloth this channel because it's causing this belt to flare a little bit. The others, when I just run through and I'm looking at it, you want a nice smooth channel. When I run my finger through it, this one appears to be fine. This is a different material and it appears to be completely smooth. Just this one up here seems to have a little flange on it, so I want to cut that down. And when I'm doing the inspection, I just noticed that when I'm looking over here, I've got a little wear on this, and this is part of the coolant system. It's chewed in a little bit. So I want to take care of that. This one has some chew marks on it too, so I'll probably replace both those hoses. I'll do some more inspections of these coolant lines and just make sure they're okay. I'm going to raise the radiator up and take a look at everything that's there. When I cleaned it yesterday, I noticed that it was really dirty, and dirt was just pouring out of it. So one of the first things I noticed when I had the tractor, I had to make a couple of runs from where I dropped it off back up to the house to get the bucket and the dozer blade up here. And on the way back the second time, I had an overheat alarm. And when I looked at that, the engine temperatures were fine, but the coolant temperature was high. And when I look at it, I notice that I am low on coolant. So that's the first thing I noticed. Also, when I looked at the preventative service maintenance, it looked like the thermostat that regulates the water going into the engine was due for replacement at 3,000 hours. So I don't really have any way of knowing if that was done. Doesn't really look like anybody's messed with the factory bolts here, so I'm going to assume that it's never been done. So that would be the first cheapest culprit to check, and we'll replace that. One way you can do that is you can take it out and you can boil it in a pan of water and see at what temperature it opens up and make sure that it opens up fully. But I mean, once you have it out, you might as well replace it. It's only about $30, and you need to replace the seals. The only problem is that when you do it, you're going to have to drain the coolant out of the radiator, and that can be a bit challenging to make sure you get all the air out of it. One of the next things I'm going to look for is dripping oil or any fluids underneath the engine that could possibly show signs of wear. The other thing that I really want to take care of is there's an air filter here. This is the main engine breather air filter, and I opened it up yesterday. It needs to be changed. I'm probably going to replace that with a K&N filter. I've always been a big fan of K&N filters because they breathe very well, and they're a little more expensive than a normal filter, but you can reuse them over and over again. So I'm going to get one for there. So when you open this up to get to your radiator, I noticed that I'm missing there's supposed to be a pneumatic shock over there, or a little gas cylinder. I noticed that that's gone, so this won't hold up. There is a sight line on the side of the radiator to make sure you can see radiator fluid in the radiator, and it appears there is. But also this radiator takes 2 bolts and it will tilt up so you get better access to the engine, and I haven't done that yet. And when I do that, I'll be able to get a little closer so I can inspect things. Also, when I'm looking at things around here, really want to start to get on top of the rust. You'll see little areas where it's chipped, so I want to go around this thing and really take care of all those rust spots, get them sanded out and repainted, just so that doesn't become a bigger issue in the long run. You can see there's chips all over this thing, which is expected for wear. but it's better to just get on that now as much as you can. There's some deep ones, so you really probably have to get in there and sand them out. Another thing that's a big service item is when I come down and look at my treads, these guys have their own oil reservoir. These gears actually, or these two sprockets, are actually what engage and drive the tracks. These need their oil changed at a certain level. I'm also going to assume that these have never been done, so I'm going to do a change on that. And I'll go through and I'll show videos on how I do all this, and we can all stumble together through this. You know, these are lubrication points that I'll need to inspect and lubricate. One thing that I really need is I need to get a service manual for this. However, Caterpillar wants $1,000 plus for the service manual, so I'm looking at other ways of getting that. There's other third-party sellers that sell specific parts of the manual, so I'll probably end up doing something like that and saving some money. Something that you'll notice here is that this is really chipped up. I'll really probably want to strip away most of this and really get this rust under control. This is probably the worst part of the whole Caterpillar that I've seen, so it's really not that bad. I'm sure looks like it's been touched up here before, but I think I really want to do it right, strip it all down, and maybe repaint this whole section, find a line maybe along this weld bead that I can tape off. Yeah, there's some in there, so maybe I'll go back a little further, really try to take care of that. This is a cover, this whole thing will come off. I think I'm going to take this off and try to bead blast it and then paint it. But yeah, there's some areas here that somebody has tried to repair, and at least it got stop the rust, but you know, I'm a little more picky than that, and I'll probably try to get that off and take care of it. Here, these high wear parts, these are all rusted. I'd really like to disconnect those and get those taken care of. The bucket, I don't know there's much you can do about the bucket. Don't really care about really making the bucket look pretty, because it's something that's going to get beat up constantly. However, I will probably still try to lightly grind it or sand it and then just paint it. Doesn't have to be pretty, but at least stop the rust from spreading and extend the life a little better. The other thing you'll notice is the seal is kind of worn here, and I was looking at like, oh, it's not too bad, I could probably glue it, but when I actually look at the top up here, it's pretty chewed up, so I'm probably just going to replace the whole seal. When you come into the cab is actually pretty good condition. Step into it, the seat's nice. It's an air ride seat, which is nice. It's got a seat heater, and this is a full air-conditioned cab. This boot is damaged, which means that it can get stuff into the electronics, and since this is a fully electronic drive here, it's not running hydraulic valves, or it's not directly connected to hydraulic valves. I'm worried about dust and things getting in there, so I'll get a new boot for this. The other one I haven't done a full inspection of yet. This one over here, this looks pretty good. I don't see any problems, so that boot's probably fine. It all looks pretty good. And also, since I'm new to this machine, I might put some actual labels on some of these things to fully understand. I'm sorry for you experienced tractor people out there that think that's a very noob thing to do, but some of these I'm not going to use very often. Like continuous flow hydraulics, I've got my outside lights, and then I've got the hydraulic override, but I still probably get some labels here. This does have Caterpillar color screen for the controls, so I can look up alarms and past and what it thinks its service items are. There's some in there that haven't been cleared or have not been done, so I'll go through those. I think I'll probably put a fire extinguisher in here. Something you'll also notice that probably needs to be, when you close this cab, obviously it doesn't really seal well because the seal is broken, and so I think I need to really adjust where it considers that it closed, and that'll really help keep the dirt out and keep the air in and make it a lot quieter. It seems that most of these are bent up. I think somebody leaves some equipment on here, they end up slamming into the front of the cab, so really want to try to bend that out. I'm not sure, that looks like that's going to take a lot of force to get that untweaked, but I get that bent out, do the best I can on that. Something that I need to do here soon is take this whole cab, and it actually pivots off so you can get to the other side of the engine, so I need to do that so I can do an inspection. There was a forestry kit on this, and so there's kind of a loose a loose clamp here with the rest of what this kit was, so I'll probably take this off. I'm not really going to be working in bushes and brush. The property we're going to be working on is pretty clear. Also, the forestry kit included these guards on the lights. And then one thing on the back here, there's a little dent here. I'll try to just kind of maybe hammer that out as best I can. So there's a side cab air filter, and I pulled that out, and you can see that is way past its service life. So it should all be clean. This is another thing that will get dirty pretty quick as you're working in dusty environments, but this has been a while since it's been changed. So get a new one of those as well. I'm starting to compile a list of all the things that I need so I can try to order one big chunk of stuff and go from there. This model, you can connect a backup camera, which is what this is for, because the visibility out the back is not super good because this is up so high. So one of the things that you can do is you can add this backup camera and it ties into the color screen. However, they want like $500 or $600 for that. So when you can get a pretty good kit on Amazon for 60, 70 bucks. So probably going to do that, find a place to mount the screen and just have a secondary screen. It's not as sexy as being integrated, but I can keep an eye out on eBay or something for that camera module and see if it comes up and add it if I can find it. So that's it for now. There will be more detailed videos as I start to tear into this and bring this beast back, I guess. I'm pretty excited. I know there's a lot to do, but it's a good machine, and it just needs some love. It's never been loved before.